may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys. I don't really know what to say here. The video I made this morning, what I actually did is I premiered it like we do with the other channels, where I just make it go live and I hang out in the live chat, I answer your questions, and we all hang out, watch the video together. And I did it kind of as a test. I wasn't really expecting anybody to come out, but surprisingly, there are a decent amount of people subscribed to this channel that have hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button so they get notified whenever we do make that upload. So first off, thank y'all all so much who have decided to do that. And if you have not already, I think what we're going to be doing is premiering the videos on this channel going forward, because if people want to come out and hang out with me in the live chat and we can just talk a little bit of fantasy baseball, that's of course going to be something I want to do, as I love fantasy baseball. May not be that good at it, but we're going to continue to try to improve. And also a last shout out to our people at Thrive Fantasy. Now, y'all know I never do ads on this channel. I never do ads on any channel. But the people at Thrive have decided to do a free $1,000 free roll for opening day. And really, they're going to be providing a fantasy baseball contest all off season. All you have to do is go to the comment section, go to the description of the video, go through that link, use promo code FLOCK, and then you should be able to find the free $1,000 free roll. But anyway, let's dive into this video and let's talk about players that I'm avoiding in 2021. Now, I know if y'all been following the channel for a month now, maybe you've heard me talk about these players before. Maybe you've heard me already make my case on why I'm avoiding them, but we have a ton of new listeners, so I'm going to be going through them yet again. Okay, so our first player we are going to be bringing up is going to be a new guy that we have yet to mention on the channel. And this is going to be Michael Conforto, who right now is not going at the very top of drafts, but still in the early rounds, going at 68 overall. He's an outfielder for the New York Mets. I'm sorry, I almost said yes. And then we are looking at the fact that he was rising throughout the entire offseason. I mean, if you go to high-stakes fantasy baseball drafts and you just look at what his ADP was on a month-to-month basis, it was literally just like a straight line going down. He was getting earlier and earlier and earlier from the beginning of the offseason to the very end. And I don't necessarily understand why, because I thought that if anything, people who were drafting at the beginning of the offseason would have 2020 still fresh in their minds. They would still be looking at what he was able to do in that season and drafting him because of so. And once we had the entire offseason to go through and look at the larger sample, like we always want to do, I figured people would begin drafting him a little bit later on, but that just simply didn't happen. And what I want to do here is let's go and let's do what we always do. Let's pull up his last full season, the last major sample that we have, which was 2019. And in this year, he had 549 at-bats, only 7 stolen bases, so you're really not going to expect him to be stealing a ton of bags, a 257 average, a 363 on base percentage, and a 494 slugging. So obviously you see this and go, okay, so he's a power hitter. He's not going to be someone providing you a ton of quality stats across the board. He's going to be very good in very specific areas. And we go to 2020, and this was the outlier season. I don't know how many times we have to talk about this. We pretty much say it in every video, though, that I am discounting all of these 2020 stats based on the fact that not only is it a sample size that's like a third of what a usual season is, but to go along with this, a lot of the pitchers, a lot of the hitters in Major League Baseball didn't even know if they were going to be playing. I don't know how many times we have to go over this, but imagine that you're an elite level athlete. The pandemic just started. You have no idea what COVID is because nobody knew what COVID was. And everybody on the planet is a little bit scared. There are about half the people that want us to shut down for good, half the people that want us to keep living. And you just don't know if you're going to go to work. So the last thing you're doing is going to the cages, going and preparing for the season every single day as you would in a regular year. Now, of course, there are going to be some players that did this. There are going to be some players who didn't. So because of all these weird variables that it's hard to track, 2020, I'm just going to have to discount. And I think this is why he is going at a price point that's a little too high for me. Because here in only 202 at-bats, he had a 322 average, a 412 on base percentage, and a 515 slugging. So yeah, that slugging is going to be high regardless. It's going to be in the high 400s. So you can't look at that as too much of an outlier. But if you're looking at his on base percentage, his average, you simply can't project Michael to be anywhere close to batting I don't even want to say above 300. I mean, he was at 322. I would be surprised if he gets close to 300 this upcoming year. And what we always do, what I always love to do, is go over to RotoChamp, which is a website that does fantasy baseball projections. Instead, what they do is they look all across the internet, they grab projections from a bunch of different sites, and they kind of sort it through an ADP. And right now, they have him projected for 547 at-bats, a 261 average, a 363 on-base percentage, and a 475 slugging. So simply, if we're looking at this overall profile, I think Michael Conforto is just a player being drafted a little bit too high for my likes because I don't understand it. I don't understand why people are going to be looking at that 2020 season thinking he's going to be able to keep it going. Now, our next player is going to be someone that a lot of people are projecting to take a massive leap forward, and I think that he can. I just don't like the price it's going to cost to find out. This is going to be Kyle Tucker, a 24-year-old for the Houston Astros, playing in the outfield. And right now, he's going 30th overall in these high-stakes leagues. So that's in the middle of the third round. And I will say, what makes me hesitate with Kyle Tucker is the fact that he's being drafted higher in high-stakes drafts compared to casual drafts. I mean, if you go and you look at Yahoo's ADP versus the NFC ADP, NFC drafters, the guys putting up thousands of dollars in their leagues every year, they're taking Kyle Tucker a little bit earlier. And those are the guys that I guarantee you, if you're playing in the NFC, if you're putting up thousands of dollars every single season in fantasy baseball and trying to make it your job, you probably know more than what I'm talking about. So I think that we are missing here. We are missing something. I don't know how many times we have to mention this, but nobody's been able to go to the YouTube comment section and tell me what I'm missing with Kyle Tucker. So we're going to have to continue to avoid him. Because we look at his stats, and I know that with Kyle Tucker, a lot of it is just going to be him progressing. A lot of people are just going to be projecting him to take a significant step forward. But still, if we go through and we look at what he's done in the majors so far, he's only had 340 at-bats, so it's going to be a small sample size. And yes, he was very young when he did this. I mean, this spans from whenever he's 21 to 23 years old. But in these 340 at-bats, he had a 244 average, a 306 on-base percentage, a 459 slugging. The one solid thing, though, is he's going to give you 20 stolen bases because we saw 14 total stolen bases with only 340 at-bats, and assuming that he progresses a little bit more, we know the speed will be there, and he's going to get on base a little bit more. So you can safely pencil him in for a player to give you over 20 stolen bases, and we know that is very, very valuable. But you go through and you look at what he did in the minors as well, and compared to Vlad Jr., I mean, it just doesn't even stack up. In AAA specifically, and the reason I want to look at AAA is because if you look at his overall minor stats, I mean, you're drawing seasons from when he was 18, so 6 years ago, and I don't really think that those will have a ton of correlation on what we can expect for him to continue to progress, but specifically AAA, so the most recent time point in his minor league career. He's had 870 at-bats, so a significantly large sample, a 297 average, a 375 on-base percentage, and this is the one number that pops off. It's a 571 slugging, but you go through and you see the slugging is down there in the 450s for the major leagues. So are people just expecting Kyle Tucker to be a hitter that can go out there and hit for power and at the same time steal bags? Outside of that, I really don't understand that cost to acquire him in the middle of the third round when a player like Xander Bogaerts is consistently going after him. But please, guys, go down to the comment section. Let me know what I'm missing, because people that are smarter than me are really liking Kyle Tucker this season. Okay, so now the next player we're going to be talking about is someone in a great lineup. It's going to be Manny Machado. And we talk about this a lot, that with these hitters in good lineups, it's going to be hard to avoid them just because we know that they're going to be getting the at-bats to go along with this. They're more likely to see runners on base when they get their at-bats. And when they get on base themselves, they're more likely to be able to score based on the hitters after them being a little bit better. But still, Manny Machado going in the middle to the back half of the second round, I think it's just going to be a price that I simply can't pay at all. I mean, he's going ahead of a Lucas Giolito in some drafts, and I think that's absolutely crazy. He's a third baseman for the San Diego Padres at 28 years old. So yes, he's a third baseman, and we know that position is a little bit more shallow. And if we go through and if we look at his career, you kind of see, it's kind of like a sine wave. I mean, there you just see consistent ups and downs. And the last full season that we had with Manny Machado was 2019, where he was kind of near the bottom of his career averages, where you saw 587 at-bats, 5 stolen bases. So you don't necessarily expect him to be up there with Kyle Tucker with the stolen bases he can provide you. And I know it's third base, so I understand it's a little bit of a different context, but still. And then you see him have a 256 average, a 334 on base percentage, and a 462 slugging. So numbers that you really can't get excited about, where in 2020, this is where it's completely different. In 2020, in only 224 at-bats, he had 6 stolen bases, so obviously that's going to be absolutely massive in the shortened season. Then he had a 304 average, a 370 on base percentage, and a 580 slugging. And I just want to echo what I said earlier. Guys, the 2020 stats I am going to be heavily discounting. They're not going to be anything close to the 2019 stats for me. And if we go over to see what RotoChamp is projecting for him, they have him for 596 at-bats in 2021. They have him for a 273 average, a 345 on base percentage, and a 505 slugging. Now, this is where it gets a little bit weird. They have him for 10 stolen bases, which I don't understand because he's 28 years old. We know this is about the time where you see these hitters start to steal less bases, and he's only been able to steal a total of 10 bags in 2 out of the 9 seasons of his major league career. So I think that's probably a misprojection. I don't know where they are drawing that from. But still, overall, Manny Machado, not someone I'm wanting at the back half of the second round. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope y'all got something from it. As always, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.